All right, good afternoon, everybody. It's Wednesday, October 6th already. Do you believe that? Oh, my God. Welcome to our So What Zoomcast. What are you? It's the 7th. Okay, I couldn't count. Thank you, Jill. It's October 7th. We are recording this broadcast, which we will post on our So What YouTube channel. And we'd like to thank our sponsors, Fox Chapel Publishing, Banyan Petites, quiltwoman.com, and Cheryl Lynch Quilts. Cheryl's not here yet today. If by chance you win a door prize later in the broadcast, please put your email in the chat. And Debbie takes it and she sends it to me on Fridays. And then we make sure everybody gets their door prizes. I do have to leave at 3:30 because today is my appearance on the Global Quilt Connection, Deb. And so I have to be there and get into their room. So Joyce Hughes is going to take over as co-host for me, and they'll do the door prizes. And I know you'll be disappointed because neither one of them have the ding-dongs. So you are free today with no ding-dongs. Okay, our door prize from Debbie and I is going to be downloadable pattern for this quilt that was just featured in American Patchwork and Quilting. So you want to make sure you get that. And I'm going to do our website special for the month. Because I won't be here to do that. You have the free Rock That Quilt Block book. You have Weather Vane, Hourglass, and the new one, Country Crown. Jeff Bezos and his Bimbo du Jour have these books on Amazon for like $24 a piece. And then this one is, I think about 18. Okay, we have a website special, all three for $30. All three books, $30 and free shipping. So let Jeff try to beat that. Not happening. Not happening. So I am drinking my Sauvignon Blanc, even though I'm taking antibiotics and all that other stuff. It'll just help me. Oh, stop it, Jill. It makes me feel better. So that's in my glass. And we're not even going to go with what. Yeah, what is that, Deb?
Right, root beer.
All right, buzzer.
Oh, well.
So our guest today is the fabulous Nancy Prince. Hi, Nancy.
Hello.
And I know you're in Orlando.
I am.
So I'm about 70 miles south of you, southeast of where you are.
I know about where you are.
Yep. And you live down here too.
I did. I used to live in Satellite Beach. I lived there for 11 years.
Yeah.
Or well, we did, not just me.
And then you so you got some pretty awesome quilts.
I have
What
a
you
few
do.
here and there. Yeah, I'm very happy with them.
Why don't you tell us what you do and what are you known for in the quilting industry?
Well, about 20 years ago, I started thread painting. And at the time when I started it, I didn't even know what it was actually called. And I couldn't find any books that told me what to do. So I just kind of figured it out. And I have sewed and made just about everything you can make on a sewing machine except for a wedding gown, which I refuse to do. And so I've always been very comfortable in front of a sewing machine. But I found out very quickly exactly how much fun, using your sewing machine and a little bit of thread, and you can make these just amazing thread painted designs. absolutely amazing. The one behind me, you can see there's a cart and some people in it. He's pretty big. He's from the tip of his nose to the end of the sleigh is almost 30 inches. It's all been done in thread.
Wow.
So they're not done on the fabric. You can see the background there. They're not done on the fabric. I actually do them away from the surface of the quilt, and then I add them on later. But I use water-soluble stabilizer, and I print the design on the stabilizer. It's got tulle in the center and then stabilizer on the back. And, you know, I've got about 2,000 spools of thread. So I have a lot to choose from. And I just kind of go at it until it looks the way I want it to look. But
Now, do you do that on a long arm or on a domestic?
I do it on a domestic, but I have heard from some friends that they've done it on a long arm, but I do it on a domestic machine.
Wow. And how long does something like that take?
Well, the horse and the wagon that you see right there, I worked on it almost every day for 7 months. That one took a long time. And, you know, I was out of town some here and there, but it's not fast, but I do like the results when I'm finished.
And that wins some big awards too.
Yeah, that one won, I think 5 Best of Shows. And it did win the Best of Show at Houston in 2014. But my favorite it won 7 Viewers' Choice Awards. And that's always my favorite award on there. Because that's the people, you know, they vote on that. And that means a lot to me.
Wow, you're getting questions already.
Uh-oh.
Nancy would like to know, can you talk about overlays and attachment to fabric?
Is she talking about the horses and if you're talking about something like the horses that are on there, the horses are about this big. So, and I use a 6-inch hoop. So obviously the entire horse won't fit in the entire hoop. So I just keep moving the hoop as I finish pieces. But basically we go back to the horse is printed on a piece of water-soluble stabilizer. And tulle goes in the center, which is like bridal veil. And then probably 5 or 6 layers of another type of water-soluble stabilizer goes on the back. I hoop it up in my little 6-inch hoop. So I have a drawing. So I know exactly what I've got to do. It's not like I'm just pulling these figures out of my head. My brain doesn't think that way. I know there are a lot of artists that can pull things out of their heads and go at it. I'm not one of them. It's kind of like coloring, except you're using thread instead of a crayon. So let's say the horse is up there, once they're done, once those horses are finished, then I wash away all the water-soluble stabilizer. So I don't need that anymore. And remember, I have tulle in the center. I've got to get rid of that. And do you guys know what a stencil cutter is? Stencil burner. Anyway, you plug it in, the little guy gets hot, and you run it around the outside edge of the design. And you know what happens to polyester when it gets hot? It's going to melt. And when it melts the tulle on there, and it also melts the polyester thread that I'm using. And so then I've got a nice edge. I put it on the quilt, I glue it on, and I use invisible thread to stitch it in place.
Wow.
I hope that answers your question.
All right, let's see. I hope I pronounce this right. Shauna wants to know, how do you organize your thread?
I have racks over there for all of I use a 40 weight polyester. I have racks for most of them. And then for the silks and the 100 weight threads and some of the other specialty threads, I have those like sulky boxes, or not boxes, but tins that I keep them in. So I have thread stacks in here.
Are they by color?
Huh?
Are they by color?
Yes and no. I have Isocord, and Isocord makes about 400 different colors.
Oh.
And they're all in color families. But then I have several different lines, and they are all by color families. But I keep the lines of threads together because I like to be able to look up there and say I need that one and that one and that one. But I always do samples first, like the horses that you see on there and the people. I didn't just sit down and start with color. Sometimes it'll take me 2 hours. I was working on something yesterday. It took me all day to come up with the colors that I wanted. So there's a lot of homework before I actually sit down.
When you're doing a horse, just because I had horses growing up, when you're doing a horse, have you been close to a horse that you can actually see their fur? Do you go that intensive on your research?
No, not on that. No, I
So
mean,
if you did something like in a zoo, you're not going to get close to.
I could
not going near those animals.
Yeah, if I wanted to do a monkey, I could probably do something that you could actually see the strands of the fabric, so you'd see the actual fur. But when you're working with a flat object, the only way you can make that fur look like fur is by changing the color of your thread. And so no, if you look at that horse, you don't see individual little furs like you normally see on a horse.
Siobhan would like to know we already answered the threads. What type of needle do you use?
I use either a micro or Smith's a micro.
Spit that out.
Smith's.
What are you drinking?
Water. Water. It's a Microtech Sharp or a Top Stitch, either one. And I use an 80 for most everything.
Okay. Kate would like to know, are you doing your thread painting with all straight stitches like we did years ago?
No, about 95% of everything you see on the horses and the people there were done with a zigzag. Because it fills in so much faster. And the zigzag, by the virtue of the stitch, it's going back and forth, it actually sort of raises the design up a little bit. So it's not so flat. If you're working strictly with the straight stitch, it makes things very flat. And this actually gives it some dimension. I use a 40 weight on top. I use a 60 weight, which is a much thinner thread in the bobbin, so I don't get a lot of thread buildup in there.
Wow.
It's super fun. It is so much fun. It's easy. It just takes a little bit of practice. It's like anything else.
With Kim would like to know, with one of your samples, do you do the entire thing, like the whole horse, or just a bit?
Do I do the whole horse or what?
Or just a bit? So I'm guessing, do you sample out the whole horse, or you just do a little bit?
No, I just do a little bit. Whatever, pardon me, whatever I need to get the colors. And sometimes they're just little zigzags back and forth. But colors, if I look up on my racks and I see a color and I'm working with red, when I get ready to stitch it in, it's going to be about 2 shades lighter or darker than what I see, because it stitches in differently than what I see hanging on the wall. So you have to adjust for that when I'm coming up with colors. And a lot of it's affected by the color that it's nearby also.
Beth would like to know, I think you started talking about this, do you stitch the background first and then applique the people and houses onto that?
Yeah, if you look at any background that I do, the background is always quilted first. And the borders are on, the label's on, the binding is on, and then all the people, the houses that you see, then they're all put on at the very end. And the reason for that is if for the horses, for example, if I went ahead and put them on the quilt top and then I quilted to it, I'd have an entire silhouette on the back of where it wasn't quilted. And so it would look pretty ugly. So it's all quilted first, and then I go back and put them on later.
Do you ever use invisible thread?
I do.
Other than just to put the appliques on?
Only to put the appliques on do I use invisible thread. Only because it can be such a bear to work with sometimes. And but I do have to use it when I stitch them on. I don't ever put it in the bobbin, but I do use it on the top.
So on the quilt behind you, the horses, the people, the lampposts, those are all added after the quilt is already done. What about all the houses and all of that?
The houses, my husband is a retired general contractor. And so when we got ready to do the houses, you have to understand everything that goes on my quilts has to be architecturally correct. So there's a program called SketchUp, and we did the houses in SketchUp. And that way, if I want brick siding, I can make brick siding. If I wanted like the blue house, looks like boards. So you can do anything in there in SketchUp. So plus the angle of the houses can be turned so that it fits with the angle of the road. So those were fused on at the end. Excuse me. But if you haven't tried it, I think probably I've been doing this for 20 years, teaching for 20 years, and everybody goes, oh, it looks too hard. Well, I didn't start there. I started somewhere else, just like everybody else. So it's a straight and a zigzag stitch. How hard can that be? Trust me, if it was hard, I wouldn't be doing it. Is it time consuming? Absolutely. It does take some time to do it.
Do you have an art background?
I wish. No, no. I've made a lot of crafts in my lifetime when the boys were little. I did a lot of arts and crafts, but I've always gone back to a sewing machine. And I've grown in the last 20 years. I have a brand new quilt downstairs that I was all ready for Houston for this year. And of course, that played out. So it's going to hang on the wall for a year until it's ready for Houston next year again. So the one downstairs took me 3.5 years. This one I worked on this one for 7 years, but I was traveling a lot, so I didn't have a lot of free time. So I do it where I can.
Do you normally work on big quilts like this or smaller ones in between?
Well, I do workshops. In fact, I'm going to try something. I'm not sure. I'll show you a few that I'm getting ready to do at Road to California. Now, if I lose you, Tom, make sure Tom's around here.
Techie Tom.
In case I lose you. But anyway,
Make sure he got his pants on.
uh-oh. All right, can you see that?
Yes. It looks
All right.
great.
That's all thread. This is just a piece of black and white fabric that you see on there. And it's just been, painted with a lot of different color threads, whatever I wanted.
So for that one, did you start with the flowers already printed on the fabric or did you
Yeah,
on?
it's a piece of black and white fabric. And then that way I let somebody else do the artwork for me. And then I just put some thread on it. And then this one also was it's a photograph. And so I just did the thread work on top of it. This is done right on top of the fabric on here. This one is just a little sketch. Now, when I get ready to do this, I don't just sit down and decide, okay, I'm just going to make this barn. I have a drawing, remember, that I have laid over this piece of fabric that I'm following. So I know where everything has to go, and it's not a big, a big problem.
You work from photographs a lot?
I do, let me get this up here. I do, especially for workshops. A lot of the workshops, I'll do photographs. I would say teaching wise, about half are photographs or commercial fabric. And then the other halves are like the ones with a little barn, the ones that I've come up with and drawn. It just depends.
You got a couple of questions. What stitch do you use to apply the items onto the foundation?
I use a zigzag, anywhere between a 1 and a 2 millimeter. And then whatever the quilt has been quilted with in the bobbin, then that has the same thread in the bobbin that I used when it was quilted.
Do they stay, you said you used a lot of um, stabilizer. So did they stay relatively flat when you're stitching?
Yeah, well, yes and no. A lot of times they will ripple and kind of get distorted on me. But if I block them, it flattens them back out. But if I've got enough stabilizer on the back, then it's usually not a problem.
Do you do the double bat?
Yeah, hang on 1 second. I'm going to bring that over here. I'll be right back. I don't know if you can see this or not on here. This actually is a leg that I'm making for a guy. Yeah, this is, he's got, it's like kind of like a Davy Crockett kind of a error, but there's 8 layers of stabilizer on the back.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot. So the bigger the designs get, the more stabilizer I put in there. But that one, if I only put 1 or 2, I would have had distortion, and distortion shows up as ripples along the edge, or sometimes they'll be within the design itself. But these are like bulletproof when I'm done. There's so much thread in there. They're pretty well bulletproof.
When I've done thread painting like that in the past, I've had to cut away the edge, the extra stabilizer around the edges. Otherwise, my pipes would be solidly gummed up, I think. That's a lot of stabilizer.
It is, and what I do is I just keep the water running for a while to make sure, because we're on septic here, so I've got to be really, really
Yeah,
careful.
I do too.
But I make sure there's a lot of water that I run through there, and I've cut away almost all of the excess that I can on here. So I'm not washing all this away. I'm only washing about 1/4 inch of it away.
Okay.
There's really not that much left on there. But they take on a life of their own after a while. Sometimes everything goes smoothly, and then other times they'll go flying across the room because I'm frustrated with them. You know,
With those kind of quilts, do you have to take any kind of special care when you do your shipping to the shows? Like, do you have to roll them instead of fold them, or?
they're always rolled, and they're like the one I have downstairs is almost 70 inches wide, so I'm gonna have a 70-inch thing to roll it on because I don't want to fold it and then roll it because they're too bulky. But the one downstairs, for example, some of the figures are 30 inches tall, and there's a lot of thread in there. So if you tried to fold it, it just wouldn't work. But no, so far. Oh, and I'll also tell you something else for those of you that ship your quilts. We have it on a piece of PVC pipe, and inside we put a tracker, a GPS tracker inside that tube. And that way we always know where it is. Now, once it gets to the show and it's hanging, that's one thing, but in transit, we can actually look at the little picture and see FedEx going down the road with the quilt back. So
Wow.
It's called Spot, is what it is. And I have them for my suitcases too when I travel.
You pretty much have to, because those things are irreplaceable, or at least 7 years to replace it. You know.
Well, let's put it this way: I wouldn't have to redo it.
Yeah, right.
Let's just put it that way.
Do you have your quilts appraised?
Yes.
And do you have them appraised when you're done before you send them out? Or
In the past, I've had to send them out. This time I found a lady, she's done some of mine before. So she's going to give me a virtual appraisal so that while it's in the mail and it goes up to her, I have something in writing in case something were to happen.
oh wow, is she in Florida?
Actually, she's in New York.
Okay.
But right now she's very ill. So I'm hoping she's going to be okay. But
So,
Something like this.
there,
Very valuable.
yeah, what do we, questions? Double batting. I know some of the fancy show quilts have double batting.
you know what, Linda, I didn't even know anything about that until last week when you had the other girl on last
Oh,
week.
Krista.
Mr. Moser, yeah.
And when she said that, I went, oh my God, that is brilliant. But I'm working on a new one now. I definitely will try the double batting next time because
Yeah,
I have so much weight on mine that most people don't have when these figures get on there, that I think that double batting would really help.
I didn't learn about that till I went up to Machine Quilters Expo, and I was just amazed at like minute quilting with all the micro stipple and all that other stuff. I'm like, oh my God. And then I went to, I forget whose class I took, but that was a subject, and they were talking about that they double back the show quilts.
Yeah, I have it written down here somewhere where she said what to use. I don't remember what it was, but I went, well, that's just brilliant. 20 years later, I'm finding about this now.
Yeah.
I did not know that before now. Yeah.
I think a lot of the machine quilters use a layer of cotton batting and then a layer of wool because the wool will
Yeah.
be more dimensional.
Well, this one right here, I did not quilt it. My friend Linda French quilted it. And when she quilted it, it shrunk 6 inches. It was just like amazing. I couldn't believe it shrunk that much. I was afraid my figures weren't all going to fit. That's where they were going to be big, but they did. So I wish I could do that lovely quilting, but I just am not any good at that. I like my work in a 6-inch hoop, you know.
Jill would like to know, is the lake stitched on as well?
It's what?
Is the lake stitched on?
No, it's part of the background. The background was painted in Photoshop. And it was painted in 3 sections so that we could applicate them together because it was 65 inches wide. And of course, fabric isn't 65 inches wide. So it was printed. I had it done at spoon flower. I've since found out there's a lot of places here in the United States that you can get fabric printed. Although I use spoon flower for all my classes and I have for years. But there's so much you can do now that you can print on fabric yourself. Like years ago, I would not have been able to do that because there's no way I would want to applicate all that stuff together. I don't know about
Some
you.
of the digital printing on fabric is amazing. They
It is
can come
amazing.
up with way more detail than you can get from regular printing of fabric. So the colors are very vibrant and it's very precise.
Well, and two, spoon flower has it set up where you can set up your own shop. You can design your own fabric. You can sell your fabric there. You know, I don't get into that, but I know that there's a lot of people that do that. So it's just a beautiful place to go. Or if you have a photograph that's special to you that you want to get printed and then do some thread work on top of that, you know, that works out really, really well.
Now, you are teaching at Road to California Virtual,
Yes.
and you're doing some virtual classes. You're getting set up for it.
It was amazing how much paperwork all this took. We've got that done. We don't have the videos done, but I was waiting to see what Road to California picked before I started making videos. So now that I know, then we'll probably get started on that next week and try to knock some of these things and get them out of the way. But, you know, I'm looking forward to it. It's a little scary for me because I'm not a very techie person and I have my tech guys. You know, I threaten him with an inch of his life if he goes anywhere today. So I do have somebody that can bail me out when need be. But the little quilts I showed you a few minutes ago, those are the ones I'm teaching at Road to California.
And there should be, if you're on the Road to California email list, there should be a email announcement coming out this afternoon. So,
Oh,
Do you have projects that you have taught? Are these projects that you've taught in person that you're now converting to virtual classes? Or are they different?
Yeah, all but one of them. The little woodlands, the little green and yellow one is new, and I'm working on another new one. But they were all relatively new classes that I had that I've been teaching for the last couple of years. And because I didn't want to video something that I've been doing for 6 or 7 years. So needs, my brain, I don't know if it's the virus, but it just don't want to get into creative mood here. It's really hard. Get that brain going.
well,
Yeah.
I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of Debbie and Joyce. Joyce, you saw I made you co-host.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And I will go be my
We'll
lovely,
check in
charming
on you.
self on global.
Well,
Okay.
good
I'll
luck.
talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome so much.
all right, you got some more stuff coming in.
Yes. We had a comment from someone who said that they were using Spoonflower fabric and they needed a particular fabric, and she matched the background of her grandson's favorite sweatshirt in order to make this galactic fabric for the quilt. Where do you get your inspiration?
For the big ones, they're usually things that I've had run around my head for years. I kind of know what I want to do next. But for the little ones that I do for workshops, sometimes I'll see a picture and I go, oh, I want to do that. I've actually woken up in the middle of the night and go, oh, that would be a good idea. And when I get upstairs and light a day, it turns out it's not such a good idea after all. But, it's getting harder and harder. And I guess it's because I'm older. But I used to be able to just kind of blast them out. And now it takes a lot more time.
So if you just finished the one that you were going to send to Houston, do you have another one underway for?
I do. The leg is part of the new one.
Oh, okay.
The last two are historical. The one that's downstairs is a reproduction of the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
Okay.
And then this one is George Washington crossing the Delaware. They're both historical.
Okay.
And I love that time period, and I love their clothes. And like this one right here is like the 1895s. They had such fun clothes to wear. And I mean, I wouldn't want to thread paint what I have on today. That wouldn't be any fun at all. But I like that romantic 1895s. And then I've always been kind of mesmerized by the Revolutionary War. So I just wanted something to leave behind for my boys. And so I think they will like those. Maybe not the girly one here, but I hope the ones downstairs.
You have two boys?
We have three. We have
Three boys.
two that are here in Orlando, and we have 5 grandchildren here. And then in Philadelphia, my oldest son lives up there. So we don't get to see him quite as often. We have 3 very grown boys. But it's nice that we have, like today when we're trying to get set up, I emailed or texted my son and said, okay, you got to get on with Zoom with me for a minute. So it's nice that when you've got your kids, that this is what they're all, all into.
It's kind of amazing how many people have found out that they can do things they didn't know they could do on Zoom and so on because of the pandemic. You never would have thought we'd be doing all these virtual classes and virtual quilt shows.
Well, we started the year off, and the only thing I taught this year, I was fortunate enough to go to Dubai to teach. And I got home just as everything started closing down here. In fact, the day before I left, my husband called and he says, "Are you worried about getting home?" And I went, "No," because over here, things were starting to get a little antsy. And by the time I got home, I was glad I got home when I did. But everything I had this year was canceled. And so I decided in August, which was pretty late, that if I were going to keep on teaching, this is what it's going to be for a while. And I don't mind learning new things. It's just I'm getting very frustrated because it's all so different. But I'll figure it out. And I've got Tom in there. If I don't figure it out, he will. But you know, it's the only way that you can stay in touch with people right now. Probably like you guys, my husband has some health issues that we certainly wouldn't want him getting sick. And so we've been home since March 15th.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are in that same boat that they just don't want to take a chance. But hopefully we'll be back to in person sometime in the near future.
Yeah.
Shauna wants to know, how can we sign up to take a virtual class with you?
Well, I'm working right now. I only have it set up for gills. The best thing right now is to get a road to California and do it that way. I need to set it up for individuals, and I'm going to try to do that, but I don't know how long it's going to take. But if they will give me their email address, then I will let them know when I have that set up.
Okay.
Because it's so much fun. It's
Yeah.
you know, it's just something nice. You probably don't want to go to the length that I've gone to. But the nice thing about it is I can embellish or do something really nice to one of my quilts that I can't just do with fabric. I can add a little bit of thread and make it look really, really nice. So I hope people give it a try because it is a lot of fun.
I'm sure everybody would love to try it. So everybody will be signing up for Nancy's class in California, on the road to California.
Yay, that would be good.
In January. So the class list should be coming out soon. The class signups should be coming out soon, I think. So keep an eye out on the Road to California site. And I'm sure Nancy will have her information on her website, which is.
Now that I've got my classes, I didn't get them until yesterday. So now that I know what I'm going to be teaching and what days, and we'll get that on there. And it's just nancyprince.com.
Okay.
Like,
well, thank you very much, Nancy, for being with us today.
That was my pleasure.
We're going to do some door prizes.
Yay.
Yay. Okay. Let me just go to gallery view here. I do not have Linda's buzzers or beeps or clapping. So you're just going to have to go with yay.
Right. Make your own sound.
Make your own. Okay. Joyce, if you could pick for Linda.
Okay.
And again, this will be a virtual pattern of tilt-a-whirl.
Susan Stetler.
Susan Stetler. Okay.
Page.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, Susan. I can spotlight you. Spotlight. Okay. There we go. Okay. Susan, what is in your glass?
Coffee.
Coffee. Okay. What do you think, Siobhan? Did she get thumbs up for coffee? Siobhan says yes. Okay, so Susan, you're going to get a copy of the Tilt-a-Whirl pattern that was in American Patchwork and Quilting.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay.
That was on page 1 of my.
That was on page 1. Okay, we need to have some for Banyan Batik. So if you would pick another one, Joyce. Yep.
Rhonda. Roddy's iPhone.
Oh, Rhodey. Rhodey, okay.
I'm here.
My eyes.
Yeah, Rhodey.
Yay.
Okay.
Okay, I'm drinking coffee.
It's coffee day.
It's coffee.
It's a coffee time where you are? Always coffee time.
Always coffee time where I am.
Okay. All right, Rhodey, you can put your email in the chat. Not that you haven't ever won anything, but it's
Thank
all
you so
good.
much.
Okay. All right. Siobhan, would you like to pick the next one?
You bet.
Okay.
And Shauna Powell.
Shauna Powell. Okay, Shauna, let's.
Hi, ladies.
Shauna. Okay, there we are, Shauna. Okay, Shauna, what's in your glass?
Just water today with a little bit.
I'm
But
gonna
I'm
be
still
so
working.
disappointed in all of you.
Unfortunately, I have to work, so
Okay.
I listen while I work. I can't drink while I work. So
A lot of people have the excuse of either working or they're on the West Coast and it's really not drinking time yet. Okay, Shauna, I've got your email because you had asked to send it to Nancy, so we're good for
Thank
that.
you.
Okay, another one. Let's see. Nancy, would you like to pick the next one?
Sure. Hang on a minute. Susan
Susan.
Kettler. Well, she's already won one, hasn't she?
Already won.
Yeah, she's already won.
Already won. Okay.
Yeah.
Susan Stetler already won. All right, so pick again.
Nancy.
Let's see. Let's see.
Do you see her, Nancy?
There you go. Nancy,
There you go.
what's in your glass, Nancy?
Just
Got to unmute you.
Just water
Just water, okay.
with ice.
Water with ice, okay. Nice, Siobhan. All right, Nancy, you want to, from Banyan Boutiques, they're going to be sending you something. You'll be in contact to get your address.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, we have one more for Quilt Woman, and I'm going to pick that one. Let's see. Denise, is that you? Denise. I gotta unmute you.
Yes.
What's in your glass?
Arnold Palmer. No liquor.
No liquor. Okay. All right.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Hey, Deb.
Yes.
I have a book. I have a book too. So
Oh, okay. All right. So I forgot about that one. Okay. Okay, Nancy, can you pick another one for your book? She has a copy of her first book, which is going to
Joyce.
oh,
Joyce. Okay.
you.
Okay, Joyce. All right. And we have one more, which will be another copy of Tilt-A-Whirl. And I'm sorry, I don't know which issue that was from, but it was just recently. And it actually, Barbara.
There's two.
Barbara,
Oh,
we lost your picture.
just unmute.
There you
Okay,
go.
there you go. There
Thank
you go. So Barbara. Marlene. And what's in your glass, Barbara?
Just water.
Just water. Everybody's got water today.
It'll be 5 o'clock soon.
All right. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming today. And we're going to cut off a little bit early today because I also have to go and see what Linda's up to. So thank you all for being here. And thank you, Nancy, for your great information.
Welcome.
And hope everybody will sign up for your classes in Road to California. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.